We're laughing because we're like
What's up,
looking
Matt?
up.
Hey,
Two screens to look
Are
at.
you ready?
I'm ready.
It's been a minute since we've
It's
had
it's been a minute. It's been a
since
minute, but
we've had different Koviki talks where we've had them hosted in Fijian, and
mhm,
we've had other hosts for our show. But we're
right.
back on now. Koviki Talk is a series where we talk about all things COVID-19, but we do it from a Pacific Islander perspective. So we have Pacific Islanders on the show to speak directly to the Pacific Islander community. We talk about culturally relevant things and timely things. So when it's time to, we always talk about that when it was time to vote in a pandemic. Not only do we need to get the Pacific Islanders to the polls, but we need to do it safely. When it was time to get tested, we were talking about testing sites and why it was important. When it's time to get the vaccine, we talked about that. But we always have Pacific Islanders on to lead the discussion so that it's our people speaking directly to our people. So I think we're going to go ahead and get into who our guests are. We're honored to be here with the people that we have on. It's kind of one of those groups that we chase a lot for a lot of different reasons, not just COVID-19, but all the things that they do up there on the hill and in Viz Valley. So I'm going
I
to turn it
know.
over to Naki. She can introduce our first special person.
Yeah, we have Marlene. Marlene was born in Seattle, Washington, but was raised in San Francisco, California. She's currently going to City College of San Francisco, majoring in sociology. She wants to become a counselor because she enjoys helping people mentally and emotionally so that they're in a better mindset. Marlene is the middle child of three girls. Welcome, Marlene.
Thank you.
Next, we have Manu Sosoatu. Manu grew up in Viz Valley with his parents and two brothers and sisters. He graduated from Thurgood Marshall Academic High School in 2010 and is currently working as a case manager and on site lead for the SF Faces SF COVID team. Welcome, Manu.
Thank you.
Yay. And then next we have Shirley Alapati. Shirley works for the San Juan Community Development Center under the leadership of Ms. Patsy Tito. She serves as a COVID team supervisor, born and raised in San Francisco, graduated from Samoana High School, happily married with 6 kids and 3 grandbabies. Welcome, Shirley.
Hey, thank you for having
Yay.
us.
Yay. So we're so happy to have you guys. And every time we start, just to break the ice, we always have just an icebreaker question. So the question is, and we're going to ask Marlene first, you have a time machine. When and where would you like to visit first?
If I had a time machine, I would go back to Seattle when I was born because um, I've been there since 2007 and then I moved here to San Francisco, but I don't really remember a lot. So if I had a time machine, I'd go back and really develop the memories and really be there.
Awesome. What about you, Manu?
Honestly, I'd go back like 4 weeks from now to the time I got a severe shoulder injury about 4 weeks ago doing jujitsu, and I probably just go back to that time and give myself a heads up. Probably tell myself how to do things a little different to avoid the injury, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Ooh, jujitsu. You said one of Carl's almost favorite words, jujitsu. Uh, Are you fighting? Are you just practicing? Or are you just getting into the
For
art?
now, I'm practicing. Hopefully, by the end of the year, I have my first fight.
Awesome. Let me
That's
know. I'll
awesome.
hit you
Depends
up.
on
So,
the health of
look out
my
for
shoulder.
Molly.
Yeah. What about you, Shirley?
Um, for me, I would say I would go back to American Samoa, the year of 1942, where my dad was born. Only a
Oh,
simple fact that because there was a discretion between our last names. There's Pelasuma. One was spelled S-E and one was spelled S-A. So not knowing, we only found out because I was telling everybody the correction was S-E.
yeah.
So it took a follow lobby for me to go to that. We sat down with our Matai and asked, and he happened to have the book, the history book of the Rafa of the family, and he told us. And I asked him the question, and he told me the correction of our name is Pelasuma spelled with S-A, not S-E. So that was
Oh.
my then. So now we know. Everybody that asked, there you go.
That's awesome. That's interesting too. Yeah, I remember my dad had a book of his family history. I don't even know where it is. How sad is that? But that's awesome. What about you, Carl?
Well, I got question overload now that I don't know that Manu
I
was
know.
in jujitsu. I have all kinds of questions, but let's see. I'd want to go into the future. I spent the weekend with my two sons and seeing the amazing young men that they've become. I'd want to go into the future and check out and see what they're doing with their kids or what's going on in the future with them. So I would head, I don't know how far ahead, but I would look to see what my grandkids look like and what my triplets are doing 10 years from now.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a
How
good
about you,
one.
Naki?
I probably would like to go to the future too, just to see all the work. And I said this before, all the work like SCDC, all the programs that you guys have put into place, Someone Solutions, just PICP, all the work that you guys have put into place. How is it doing in the future? Do we need it anymore? Are we the majority of, of this state, because we're growing so fast? So yeah, I would go to the future just to see how everyone's work. Is it still going? Do we need it? Wouldn't it be awesome if we just had all the resources and then we're helping other communities outside of Pacific Islanders? So I think that would be good. So thank you everyone for your question. I know Carl's still staring at Manu about that jujitsu, only because he's a big MMA fighter. He used to write for an MMA magazine, online magazine. So, and then we recently started going to MMA fights to cover. So anyway, we're off the subject. But,
MMA writer, not fighter.
yeah, writer.
But yeah, that's shoulder injuries, wrist injuries. Those are back injuries if you're in the sport for a long time.
I got all three of
Those are things that develop. But man, I'm going to have to shelve that and think COVID as we go through the show.
Yeah. So we know that SCDC is doing a Samoan Community Development Center, SCDC. We know that you guys are doing a lot of work from even the beginning of the pandemic. You've been covering a lot of, people need food because they've lost their jobs, but you've had a lot of vaccination. What is the word I'm looking for? Carl?
So I think what Naki's talking about is there's a lot of awareness out there, and it's a moving target, right? So we're at one point it was we need to get tested. There was no vaccine, and then it was that became now we have a vaccine. We need to educate our community about it. But I think that right now really we've been looking at. A lot of maybe COVID fatigue, and that was one of the topics we wanted to talk about in a community, in a people that the COVID has hit worse, it has hit harder than other communities. Are we quicker as a people? Have you noticed that the COVID fatigue, like maybe we want to be at the finish line a little earlier than we actually are? Do you feel like COVID fatigue is harder with the Pacific Islander community, or do you think the all of the different awareness and the different stages that we've gone through COVID, do you think that helps us kind of avoid COVID fatigue? And I've learned after many different Koviki talk shows that with a Pacific Islander group of guests, you don't just throw it out there because everybody's humble and nobody wants to go first. So I'll throw this out to Shirley so you can kick it off and then we'll go to our next two guests. But is COVID fatigue something that the Pacific Islander community is more susceptible to, or how have you experienced that?
Thank you, Carl. At the beginning of when we first started, it was the numbers of our Pacific Islander was really short. We didn't really have a lot of people come out. I don't know, it's because they didn't have the information on it until we started outreaching. And we did outreach, some of the churches, and then we did outreach. We did door-to-door flyers and stuff just to, let them know that we were there and that they can come down and check us out. the first couple of weeks that we started, it was a rough one for us because we really didn't have many people come out, especially our Pacific Islander. We had the majority of the Asians community come out, which was okay. But then slowly but surely, when we started talking more and more of our community here, we started seeing our Pacific Islanders actually come out and started getting tested and started asking a lot of questions and stuff. And we provided them information for them, where we were located. So we have 3 locations. We have 3 locations that they can either attend either one of those on different days and different times that suited them. But yeah, as of now, right now, we still have for a testing, but vaccination right now, I think the lowest key point is the younger generation from 18, 5 and up and 18. Those are the ones that we need to really try to reach out to try to, let them know that, it's here.
Yeah.
We're all here. We have 3 sites that are open on certain days that they can come and get it. But with our seniors, the seniors have been doing really great. And, we do all the wraparound services for all of them.
What do you think was the hesitation at first, Shirley, real quick before I ask the other 2?
I think the hesitation was, I don't know, and from what I know, it's probably because they're not seeing our people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to be out there, to be the actual faces out there, out here in Visitation Valley, it kind of like gave them comfort that they're able to come out and, they see us working out there. So we are the ones that work out and, how do you say it? Like, we're the ones that are frontline.
Yes.
We're out there on the streets and, when they roll by and they see us, they'll stop and ask questions and then they'll set up appointments for them. And that was it, basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's important for them. And we say this over and over again, that it's important for them to see faces that look like them so that they're comfortable to ask questions. Manu, is the PI community experiencing COVID fatigue or at the time or now, or what are you seeing?
I think we're doing a little better now. I joined the COVID team a little later in the game. I joined about November or December.
Mm-hmm.
So I came around in a time where I was already seeing PIs coming in to get vaccinated and tested. They already felt comfortable coming by and starting conversations with us and, getting things done.
Yeah, that's like at the peak. That was kind of like at the peak of
Right.
everything. So I think everyone was scared and just we had a lot of our community passing away from that. Marlene, how about you?
I want to say I agree with Manu. It's getting a little better now, but in the beginning it was a little low, like Shirley said, because a lot of our PI didn't have enough information to know, what's going inside of our bodies, what are the effects that it might have. They also see a lot of rumors and myths going around, so they either like believe it or they're too scared to like go out and find out for themselves. But I think now it's better.
Right. Go ahead.
So I was wondering if there are things, and we're kind of bouncing all over the place, staying away from jujitsu questions. When COVID goes away, right? When we get 2 or 3 years from now, and we have we have vaccine and treatment and those kind of things, and it's not the hyper focus that it is now. Are there things that you've seen in your work that you think the PI community needs to take with us? So we want to leave a lot of this behind. We want to leave, not gathering socially. That's huge for us as a people. We want to leave a lot of those things behind. But are there things or learning points that you feel that the PI community can take with us as we go forward outside of COVID? And I'll throw that to Manu first.
I'm sorry, I got a little distracted by what D-Boy put up on.
Yeah. So the question is, there's a lot of things we're trying to get past. Like we want to get back to, our normal lives. But
Right.
Are there things so when I look at, health concerns and those kind of things of why we're hit harder, in my mind, I'm like, well, there's some things that we could benefit from, that we could take from COVID as we go forward. Are there things that you see in your work that you hope that the PI community learns from COVID?
Not that I could think of. I just see, a lot of people still social distancing, and in my workplace, I do see a lot of people making better health decisions, like choosing salad over a bunch of other stuff we usually eat, like corned beef and all that junk. I'm pretty happy to see that our PI people are taking their health a lot more seriously now that COVID is very prevalent in our lives.
Yeah, that was one of the things that, with the comorbidities and the existing health conditions that are big in the Pacific Islander community. Those were, kind of the things where I looked at myself and went, what could I do different so that if there's it's not COVID, it's something else in 5 years, that I don't have some of the things or the health concerns going in, that I might have a better result. But you guys are in you're dealing with people on a face-to-face basis. Let's see. How about you, Marlene? Are there things that you see with that learning points from COVID, or things that we can take away from as a community?
It's like the same thing as Manu said. A lot of our PI community has health issues, so I think that's one of the main things that we want to take away from the COVID is being able to take better care of ourselves, and some of us have existing high blood pressure, heart problems, diabetes also. So I think one of the things we can take away from this is to take care of ourselves, get the vaccine or other things that could help with that.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that our community is starting to do that, right? Because that's what we found out, was that our community was hit the hardest because of all our underlining, medical issues. So I have noticed that our community is starting to maybe, like you said, Manu, eat a salad, during the day instead of a cheeseburger or a fusbovi and galo. My favorite, by the way.
I know it's so hard to give up, but
Yeah, it's so hard to say no, but I like that we're finally it's forcing us to make better choices because of this pandemic. Tone Baiz says, can y'all share your experience managing the Omicron surge at the beginning of the year?
Ooh. Yes. Oh, I'll take this one. So the beginning, was it February?
I think it was
Yeah.
January. As soon as we got back from the break.
Yeah, when we came back from the break, we were actually, we kind of expected it, but then when we came to work and it started down at 1099, where we started seeing a line bend around the corner. So we knew exactly okay, this is our time. Let's go ahead and do this. We started doing testing. People started coming to get vaccinated, their first vaccine after it's been out for before. So people started, it was like a scare to them. Yeah. So here at SCDC as well, we had 200 something that showed up at 1099.
I think it was 400 on average.
400. And then we had
500.
500. So that was big for us because we were like, oh, wow. At the beginning when we had started testing, we had numbers, but not high like that at both the sites. So it was, it was a challenge, but we managed.
Right.
We were able to help those who that were tested positive at the time. So we had to wrap around services for all these families that were able to help during that time. But it was a lot of people that came out.
It sounded crazy. What is crazy to me is that it was out, right? And you waited until the second wave that scared. I mean, it took a second wave to scare you. And it's frustrating for us when I see you guys hitting the pavement and you advertise every week to come get vaccinated. And then it takes a second wave for everyone to get scared when you should have been scared the first time. You know what I mean? It's just, you should have been scared. I mean, not that you should be scared, but just because of health purposes, because we don't take care of ourselves, we should have been getting the shot the first time. Are you finding any? So now that we've had, because people got scared because of the Omicron, then they came to get the vaccine. Now we have this booster we're trying to get everyone, the booster shot. Are you finding a hesitancy with people coming to get a booster shot? Or
Not
are
at
they
all.
just coming in and just are no arguments?
Um,
There's like no problem with people coming in and get boosters.
I think the ones that we've mainly seen, like I said, is our Asian community that came in and got a lot of boosters. We rarely got any Pacific Islanders, which they probably went to their own doctors and got it. I'm praying that was the case scenario. But yeah, it was the booster's okay, and I'm on my second dose already. Booster.
Oh, nice. Okay, Shirley, you want it. Marlene, are you seeing any parents bringing their kids to get booster shots? Are you guys, pushing that or trying to educate people on the booster?
So lately we haven't been seeing parents because school is in and they're trying to find the time between getting off work and picking up their kid. So I think it's more towards us trying to find a schedule to where they get off of school and they can come get their boosters. But as far as hesitancy, I haven't seen any because everybody wants to get it and because they want to be safe around themselves or their family. So I think for the most part, yeah, everyone's trying to get the vaccine.
All right, and Manu, what have you been seeing?
I've been seeing as of lately, we've set up one of our roving sites at an actual school during around 2 to 5 p.m. during a time where parents are coming to pick up their kids, and there are a lot of parents who want to get their children boosted, but we haven't been approved to give boosters for children yet, or I think we have now,
No,
right?
we have.
Like a lot of the parents are already boosted, so there's not that many parents getting boosted. It's more like the children, and there's not much hesitancy that I've seen. I just wish we would see more PI. I'm just trying to get my mom to get my little siblings to come by, especially for today, but I didn't get no reply back yet.
And is it because she doesn't want to, or is it because, do you know the reason?
She thinks that it's because my little brother he's asthmatic, but I already spoke with the nurses and they said it's okay for kids who are asthmatic to come and get the booster, so that's been approved.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's what we're asking people to do. If you have any questions, ask your healthcare worker or your doctor or your nurse, and just to double check. Do you guys have your clinics every weekend, or is it every other week? What are you guys running now?
We Mondays we're down at 1099 over at Faces SF. Tuesdays we do roving over at the Faces SF. Was it Bayview Childcare?
Yeah.
Up on Whitney.
Nice.
From 1:30 to 5, and then here SCDC on Wednesday we do testing, and I'm sorry, and J&J Wellness Center, which is 1652 Sunnydale with Jenkins.
And what are let's just talk about the wraparound services that you've been providing. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, basically, when somebody comes and get tested and they test positive, one of us and some other of our colleagues, we call and let them know that they tested positive and offer wraparound services like grocery delivery and sometimes medication delivery too. And most of the time they take it.
Awesome. Are you finding that it's more now? Has it leveled off? Are we still needing, has it leveled off, or are we still at a high rate of people needing the wraparound services?
It's actually dropped very considerably.
That's because we're focused mainly on those who do the rapid testing, and then the PCR ones, we really don't get information on them unless somebody contacts us and let us know that, yes, we have we have a positive. Will you guys be able to help service these people? And, we'll have our CICT person, which is our case investigator. And Sonia, Yosia, and Ethan, Dennis, they are the ones that you contact the families to find out what they need and stuff. And then we'll send our, one of us will go and do the delivery and stuff.
I love that. I love that. At least that you're getting the information to help people that test positive, Um, Danny boy, if more people are vaccinated, does that lower the chance of other variants mutating?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't even know how the mutations occur.
Yeah,
But
I think that
everybody's.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think if everybody's vaccinated, that's a good thing because it's lowering all the positive cases. So we don't
Right.
really need to, worry about all of that.
It's also good to go and ask your doctors and your medical providers for those questions too.
Right. Right. But I would think, I am my uneducated guess, I would think that it would lower the chances, right? Because it's just like in my uneducated opinion too. But like the polio shot, everybody got the polio shot. Nobody fought it, and now you never. I mean, I'm sure. Well, I never hear of any cases. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking if everybody got the shot, it would lower it. That's my opinion. What were you going to say, Carl?
Well, yeah, I think that's the thought process is the vaccine lowers transmission and lowers cases, so that would lower the chance of a mutation because you'd have less cases out there. But again, I'm the guy in the comments section, so go get your information from a
Get,
healthcare
yes,
professional.
yes. Call your doctor, call your nurse, ask all the questions that you need. But we really want to highlight the work that SCDC is doing, the vaccine clinics that are happening at 3 locations. Shirley, can you tell us how you got involved in this work during the pandemic? Like it's just during the pandemic. What I love that SCDC has been doing, and that I'm such a crybaby, but we talked about you guys were just pulling up in your vans or trucks and going to knock on everybody's door and handing out food, and watching some people go live on that was really I was crying on some because I'm always crying, but it's touching to see. And then people that were quarantined at home, like having you guys knock on the door and then wanting to talk for like a half an hour because they haven't seen anyone or anybody. What has that done for your spirit, really?
Oh gosh. How did I get involved in the COVID? I actually was a volunteer here at SCDC. Me and a few of my sisters would come in after work or like half days. We would come in here and help bag groceries for our seniors. And at the time, when the pandemic hit, we started noticing that we started serving more. SCDC started serving more of the community, so we got more involved in it and just started, helping out in whatever way we can out here at SCDC, and we're grateful. But then Tino brought up a job opportunity thanks to Faces SF, Susan Murphy, Drew Jenkins from JJ Wellness Center, and Tino Felisa and Patsy. They believed that we were the people to start this. Right. So when we first started, like I said before, when we first started, we didn't know nothing about COVID, and we started reading up on it, going on Zoom, just having meetings and stuff, and then listening to CDC programs and stuff, and that we took off from there. It's like the beginning part of it, we just didn't know, but like I said, it was a learning process for us. Every week we had to learn something new about this COVID, which was the testing. Then after the testing came the vaccination. So it was a big thing for us because we've never worked in this type of field. I worked in a senior home, but never like outside working, with the actual community, which was exciting to me. But yeah, and I got to meet these guys where we started as strangers and became family.
Yeah, I think a lot of great work has come out from the pandemic. But like you said, this happened and none of us knew what it was about. And we all had to get educated really fast, quickly, because the pandemic was spreading so fast. But I think I got involved because our community, Pacific Islanders, were dying at a high rate. Like we were just And it was all because of, our health, and we live in, multi-generational homes, which we always say, and we gather like crazy. We just can't, right? It's in our blood. And so I think that's what really boosted. And I love seeing our community out there trying to help everyone get vaccinated, get boosted, just for safety purposes. And, because we live in multi-generational homes, we want to keep our families safe. Has there been any, I don't know what the word is. Has there been anyone pushing back at the work that you're doing, Shirley? Like any of your family members that you had to convince? Because that's a conversation to have too.
Yes, I was stuck at home. So yeah, my family as well. A majority of us women, we all got vaccinated and everything, and our boys was really hard to talk to.
Yeah.
So slowly but surely, after time went by, we were able to sit down and have that conversation. Why don't you guys want to get it? I'm looking after you guys. You guys should be looking after, my grandchildren, because they're always over. They hesitated a lot. So I was able to get one, and then my nephews that actually, stay with me on the weekends, they came in and got their vaccination. So it's a progress that we have to go through. And I'm not going to, force it on them, but I just keep advising them, what the purpose, what we're looking forward to. Like anything can happen. We've lost a lot of loved ones along the way. So, I try to use stuff like that. Like, I don't want to see you, but, be one of those.
Right. It's real. What about you, Marlene?
Honestly, for me, like at home, me and my whole family is vaccinated. As far as boosted, not everybody has gotten the booster yet, but we're still talking about that as to why we should get the booster and what it's going to do to keep us safe. Yeah, that's pretty much all. Like all of us have the vaccine.
Yeah, keeping an open conversation going continuously, because I have family members too, and it's just we don't understand it, right? Because it's all new. Every week is a different information, but I just try to stick to the numbers that pertain to Pacific Islanders. And I think we say this all the time when CNN was talking about the numbers and where it's high, where it's low. They weren't talking about us. They were talking about not us. That's there you go. They were talking about not us. With the boosters, Shirley, are all your kids, are they still hesitant, or are you having the conversation about booster and what do we know about the booster shot?
Oh, only one boy, two. Everybody else is good. I'm just working on my two.
Yeah. What about you, Manu?
I haven't gotten much pushback from my family. Everyone who's working in my family, they got their vaccinations, but I don't think they've been boosted yet. Mm-hmm. It's just the kids that I'm worried about.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that the booster, and I 100% believe that you can make up your own mind. And if you decide, you have the right to make up your own mind. I just want to make sure that everybody gets the correct information, because Facebook is not a place to get, right. Data, and right. And here at Koviki Talk, we try to get accurate data geared toward that belong to Pacific Islanders. So we try to get all the right, we have Alisi, who does nothing but data for, down south or Monterey. But she updates us on numbers that are just Pacific Islanders. And so it's still scary. And I love that you guys, we're going to the churches and educating. Are you still doing outreach at like, I know you guys have bingo or church or your community work. Are you still having to outreach, like really not push it, but people are asking information about the vaccine or the booster shot?
We haven't did one at a church lately. I think because we just do a lot of pop-ups.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of pop-ups, and then we give out information to everybody that needed information regarding the vaccination. especially now. I mean, the numbers has went down, even with our testing went down. So we're hoping that, that's telling us that everybody's safe and doing good. That's that's what we're waiting.
I know that the Christmas was a high surge at the beginning of the year, and then it was like that too last year, right after, because everybody gathered. Do you think are we waiting for the next holiday to see if this actually worked? Everybody, or at least try to get as many people as we can vaccinated, at least trying to get as many people booster shot, if they want, of course. Do you see a surge, or are you? What is your guess? Hard to guess.
I'm just hoping and praying that there's no surge after
Right.
the next couple of days.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that at least 99% of the general public or PIs is vaccinated.
I'm like what he said. I'm hoping there's not another surge, but with the mask mandate being lifted and like holidays are coming up, it's kind of hard to guess whether it's going to happen or not. But I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, I hope not either. So, with these clinics, Shirley, that you guys have been putting together, do you guys have your team? Do you have to go to a class? Do you have? What do you guys? So that in case people don't know, what are you doing at these? Are you giving the shots out? Are you handing out pamphlets? What are you guys doing specifically at the clinics?
So we have workshops with our COVID workshops. Thursdays we have trainings and stuff with Miss Hannah down at Faces SF. They have different programs that we attend on Zoom and stuff with Dr. Vincent, Dr. Jonathan Few, Dr. Rhodes, and with a lot of our San Francisco Department of Health. They're the ones that we gather information from, and community learning meetings that we attend on Tuesdays. Was it Tuesdays? No, Thursdays. So, and this is the community learning is with everybody in the Bay Area, the doctors, the DPH. So, we're in there with them, and they talk a lot about numbers, statistics, and stuff. What's going on in the visit in each, like Visitation Valley, and then you have the Mission District, and so we're pretty much doing a lot of that work.
Awesome. And then during the pandemic, have you guys caught COVID?
Nope.
I have.
And were you vaccinated or after, or when did you get COVID?
It was right before New Year's Eve, and yes, I was vaccinated.
Oh. And did you get sick, or what were your symptoms?
No, it was just symptoms and stuff, but yeah, it was a bummer, but it was quarantined for a little bit, but everything we were fine.
Marlene?
Because I was the one that had it, but my husband didn't.
There was also a time when the rapid tests were giving false positives.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people who got false positives around that time.
Yeah. Did you get COVID, Marlene?
Yes, I got it during in the beginning of January. It was me and my older sister. We caught it. It was the beginning of January before we went back to work. We both had all the symptoms. It was,
Wasn't severe.
Yeah. No. Well, the body aches and the fevers, those were pretty bad. But literally the next day we felt fine. And so after we taking care of ourselves, taking the medication that we needed, or drinking the fluids that we needed, it helped a lot. And both of us were vaccinated also. Yes.
Awesome. Plus you were all educated up. I think this time when we get COVID, we know a little bit more to stay hydrated and stay in bed and not to go out, and for at least 5 days. I think it is 5 days. Carl?
Let's see. Manu, when you got your opponent in guard and you're going for
Lord.
I'm sorry. Wrong question. the previous conversation about how do we all get into this reminds me of I remember listening to Patsy Tito talk to a group of community-based organizations, and she said something that always stick in my head is we all started as volunteers, and it was so poignant to me that she was able to say that with such confidence in a room full of Pacific Islanders that that is how we all start, right? We all started somehow volunteering with our work. So I've been really proud of the efforts that our Pacific Islanders have done and have made through COVID-19 because not a lot of us were epidemiologists at the beginning of this or knew
Yeah.
anything about anything to do with COVID-19, and we were just called to action, and everybody just rolled up their sleeves and dove in. And you're a great example of that. Um, I guess my question is really is I'm going to make a mistake here and say I'm going to throw it out. So whoever feels called to answer it first, go ahead and speak up. But is it the same people that are getting at this point? Is it the same people that are getting like the booster shots? Or are we beginning to make any ground with the people that were vaccine hesitant in the beginning? So is it the same group of people that are just going for the, the second and the third booster shots, or are we seeing some movement with the anti-vax population within the PI community? So actually, I lied. I'm going to go ahead and start with Marlene and see if have you seen us move the needle at all with the vaccine hesitant portion of the PI community, or is it the same people that are getting the boosters?
Personally, for me, I think I've been seeing the same people like come back and get the booster. I think it's like what I mentioned before. I think it's just the same thing, not having enough information, not seeing us like their own people on the front lines trying to not promote, how do you say, like you know outreach to them that this is important to our health and to your health. So I think it's very important that we keep outreaching to those who are very hesitant so that they can better take care of themselves and for their family also.
Appreciate that. Manu, not the guard question, but have we moved the needle with the anti-vax, or do you think it's pretty much the same people that are still engaged?
A majority of the people that we get have previously been vaccinated, so they've been coming to get their second or their booster shots. But we are seeing some people getting their first dose. It's not a lot, but we are still getting a lot of some people getting their first dose now, and hopefully there's just more and more people coming by and spreading the word.
Good. That's encouraging. That's encouraging to know that. I think people may be hesitant now at this point that if I come forward and say I'm going to get the first shot, people are going to be like, "What? Whoa!" And maybe ride on them a little bit for not being there earlier. But it's good to hear that we're still getting new faces in there. Shirley, how about you? Do you think we've moved the needle as we've gone through the whole pandemic thing?
I believe we are. Not by much, but a percentage of it. Only the simple fact because those who were hesitant before, we are now seeing them come forward just to get their first dose, which I'm grateful that they even made that first move. So we've got these first dose people that are coming in. Some are coming back for their second dose. So the booster, they still have to wait another 4 or 5 months to get their booster. So slowly but surely, we will see a trend where it's going to be really, it'll pick up. But yes, I did see the needle move a little bit.
That's good because it seems like people have been somehow it was made into a political thing, and people have kind of entrenched themselves along maybe voting lines instead of health lines. So it's refreshing to hear. One of the things I heard early on in the pandemic was that, and it stuck with me, is that a confused mind will usually say no. So if you're not sure of something, you're probably not going to say yes. You're probably just going to say, well, I'm not sure. That answer is a no. And most people don't change their mind. They make a new decision with new information. Having been in the trenches with this and being, really on the front lines of the education process at booths and, events and those kind of things, is there anything you think that the health system should do differently to reach our people so that a confused mind saying no is less of the time? Because it seems like the access to healthcare, access to information, having things in language and all those things just seems to make more confused minds with people of color than not. So, have you run across anything or had thoughts of how the health system can become more accessible for the Pacific Islander community? And I think I'll start with Manu.
DPH, they talk with us and the CBOs to bring it to the people, like all the information, try to like educate each other. We even tried to like come up with flyers with
In our own language.
yeah, in our own language to make it easier for those who don't speak English to understand a little more. And what am I trying to say?
That makes sense. That makes sense that if it's English as a second language, it can be confusing enough when I read perfect English and I can read some of the health information and go, still not sure what that's saying. So that makes perfect sense. Shirley, is there anything that you can think of that would help the Pacific Islander community have better access to information that's digestible for them?
Like you mentioned before, it was like the social media and stuff. Our flyers and stuff, we usually have it in different languages, and we make sure we have our Samoan language on there as well. Different when we go do outreach and stuff, it's kind of hard for us to because I speak Samoan, but there's a certain way that you can talk to our elders. You know what I'm saying? Like we have a different language how to speak to the elders. So we try different ways to try to reach out to them for our health wise. It's hard because we just try to figure different things out. Like we're always on the move trying to figure out what's a better way to reach out. How can we communicate this to them? How can we? It's just stuff like that.
Right. And I think that we did some focus groups, Naki and I did a couple of years ago, and that's what we found in the focus groups was that people want to hear from their spiritual or faith leaders or community-based organizations. They don't want to hear, they don't want to get their information from really any other medium. They want it brought to them by people that look like them and sound like them and talk like them. Marlene, any thoughts on that? On how we could better reach, how the access and health information could better reach the PI community?
It's like they were all saying, it's the language to where we can, speak to each other, we can understand each other, and also bring in, people who look like us and using the right language. Like, when doctors come talk to us, they'll use these big words that we may not understand. And then, we'll look confused, but we'll still say, okay, yes. But, we're still confused and we don't want to say, can you explain more? So I think it's bringing in more people who would kind of explain it and break it down for us so that we can understand more.
I think that's... Go ahead, Manu.
You can try to reach out on social media, like TikTok, for instance. Marlene and her sister came up with what was it? A dance?
Yeah, it was,
and a song.
My sister.
A vaccination song or something.
Oh, I'm gonna go have to check that out.
Yeah, I think that's and that's the way. However, it is that we need to reach our people, then we need to be able to do it. I think that being plugged into the community through social media, through whatever mediums it needs to be, is huge. One of the things that, and Naki kind of talked about it earlier, I think we were talking to Yvette Monamea about when they were delivering food early on in the pandemic, and it touched my heart to where they were going door to door with food, and there were elders that were pretty much locked up and they were alone, and they didn't want the food. They just wanted to talk to the people that were knocking on the doors. It was more the conversation and the human interaction. And that really touched Yvette, that was more the food's nice, but since you're here, can you talk with me? Can you spend some time with me? And it's one of those heartfelt moments. Have any of you three had those kind of moments in the role that you're playing where you've had moments where you're just like, this is this is, kind of moments for the soul, or this is really touching me from a personal or humanity standpoint. Have any of you had those kind of interactions? Because listening to Yvette talk about that, it really struck her, those moments with the elders. Have you guys had any of those kind of moments with, not necessarily elders, but just through this whole pandemic? Have you had moments like that?
Us being out there, I know for a fact I haven't had an experience. Besides, I think Marlene, we had someone elder who was jogging through the neighborhood while we were out there and was asking questions about the testing and the vaccine. And, just sitting there talking to her, she's speaking to me in Samoan and I'm trying to answer her back. And she was just talking, going on and on. And then she turned around, she goes, "Oh, wait, vaccine? Oh, finish. I'm done. Thank you." And she just danced her way down through Sunnydale. And I was like, "Okay, thank you." Her name, but I forgot to ask her for her name. But she was so happy. Like, that was the only conversation that I really, really had a conversation with somebody that actually stopped and actually talked. Like, we talked with a lot of people, but it's just basic questions like, "Why are you guys here? What do you want, or what do you guys have?" It's just stuff like that. But that was the only one that I can think of that I really had that she sat there and just talked with us.
That's awesome.
I remember Naki I don't remember his name, but we had a Pacific Islander on the show talking about how everybody was sick in the house, and they were trying to take care of each other, even though that they were all sick. And there was hospitalizations. And it was just so touching to hear, the family, multi-generational home, everybody trying to take care of everybody, but everybody was sick. And it just was one of those moments where you listen to it and it's not a story that you're reading. It's something you're listening to and feeling. Do you remember, that?
I do. I think it was the pizza. I can't remember. I don't want to say who, but I do. We've had a lot of touching stories, and we've had a lot of really great work come out of SCDC. A lot of amazing, not just COVID and the booster and the other programs. Are you guys dealing with people with the mental health that has been, like we said, the elders just want to talk? Are you finding that people are coming to SCDC for other help, like for mental health issues because of the pandemic?
Here at SCDC, we have Tone and Tina, who is also new workers here under SCDC. And, they do have people that come in here and talk with them as well with Miss Malu that works here, Mane that works here, so yeah, we do have people that come through here when they're having problems or something, they'll talk with them.
And then if people want to get tested or vaccinated or get the booster shot, how do they get a hold of you, and where should they go?
Actually come
Hello.
come to the sites and talk to us personally. We actually help them register and give more information. We even give information on the Facebook website for SCDC, SCDCSF.org. Is that what it is?
It's
.org.
the website that you see scrolling on the bottom. The Facebook and the website on there, it will have all our sites and our times and what we provide, and who you can call and talk to for when you need wraparound services, or if you need anything else to help. Awesome. And also also our Department of Public Health, their website also has a list of other resources that you may need.
Right.
For also testing, vaccine, other services that you may need.
That's awesome. Anything else? Did we forget anything? Did we miss anything? Because our hour went so fast. Didn't I tell you it was going to go quick? It was going to go quick. It went so fast. Anything that you guys would like to get out there before we let you go?
No, just everybody be safe. And those of you who are still hesitant, really look into the websites and stuff. They give you a lot of information, who knows? Maybe 2023 will be a better year for all of us.
And
Yes.
talk to a doctor or nurse or healthcare provider if you have any questions or need more information.
Awesome. And let me just
I wanted to say that, I'd said it earlier, that I'm very proud of the PI community for rolling up their sleeves and diving in and helping. And you're a great example of that, of people who see a need for the community. And, hearing somebody was volunteering in the beginning, especially with Patsy leading that, it really struck me as something that Patsy has spoken about for a long time, that's where we all start. And I'm proud of what you all do, what you represent, and thank you for all the work that you do with our people.
thank you so much. Any shout outs before we go?
Shout out to our Biz Valley team.
Just real quick, our spiel, our spring is here and summer is just around the corner. So be social, get boosted. CDC recommends boosters for everyone who's vaccinated and age 12 or older. A booster adds an extra layer of confidence to your social life. Over time, vaccines may become less effective at preventing COVID. Boosters reduce your chances of getting COVID and can double your protection against being hospitalized if you do get it. If you need more information, talk to a healthcare worker. This was paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. We thank you so much for joining us. Please reach out to SCDC. Big shout out to you guys out there doing the hard work, doing the work that we all are just grateful for. Thank you for saving our community, and God bless you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.